So, the new camera. Let's talk about it. Very recently, during one of the developers' live streams, the upcoming and currently work in progress camera system revamp has been revealed. This immediately caused a massive wave of controversy and debate around the sudden change to this particular part of the game, and its reception has been overwhelmingly negative, with very few members of the community opting to wait for the changes release before taking any conclusions, which is the best way to do it, by the way, and even fewer considering this as a net positive. But what is the truth exactly? Is it really that bad? Or can it be an overreaction from the community side? That is what we are going to discuss today by analyzing what is being altered, its implications and ramifications to the game as a whole. So sit back, relax, and let me do the work. First and foremost, so everyone can be up to date and digest the video under the same context, what is actually being changed? In gaming, people see the world around them in different ways depending on the title in question. We see them through the lens of a camera, literally, and that camera's position determines our perspective while playing. First person, third person, isometric and side scroll are the most used and recognizable points of view. Each one has their own advantages and disadvantages, and each one suits specific genres better than others. That is why the majority of shooters are in first person and basically all RTSs are isometric. The Isle and all dinosaur survival games for that matter use third person. The camera is fixed at a certain distance of the player character and orbits the dinosaur center whenever we move our camera angle. That is how it is at the moment, and that is what it's going to change. But instead of me being the one explaining how the new camera is and the reasons behind it, I will let Dondi himself do the talking on this one. Thanks to Zephyr for recording the footage, I really appreciate your work.
So this here is indicative of a prototype camera orbit that goes around the character. Because currently, as it stands, we all just call this the UAV. It's too much. You can see around your character. It's perfect in a not good way. It's perfect in a not good way. It's very far out. You can pull way back. You can see around you at all times. There's no drawback. Your dinosaur is just you're omnipresent for the most part. As long as you have a direct line of sight in terms of being capable, I mean, and this is not good. This is too much. And I think any person has played this for long enough knows that even if you set up an ambush right, there's a lot of simplicity and grace to the camera in terms of like how much view it gives you. So these are the min-max positions for the most part. I can't show you like the little behind the scenes photos. Like I've got like side images with certain cameras and the little spring arm and just directions and all that. It might be interesting to you all, but getting this to try and catch UE5 if I have it not streaming UE5 is going to give me hell. So what I've done is I have set up systems. So we have a camera system here for the Raptor. If we look at this Raptor, we can see inside of here all of its aim offsets. You should be able to set your aim offset and then check the camera for the general location of where that should be. Aim forward, if we look here, we've got an aim forward. Also, I'm lazy, I'm not setting up the idle blend space, so his head's actually going to be a little bit shorter than where it should be, but you'll get the point, because it's a prototype for you all that you know. Everyone else will set it up properly. Here's our preview for the camera, for forward. If we look at aim left, and then we grab him and we go aim left, hold on. Which seems like it's nothing, but I'm going to go through it very fast for everyone. Because we wanted you to be able to look behind yourself, actually see the direction that your animal is looking, as opposed to just, I can see around my body forever. because that's not fun. Now, mind you, there are certain camera quirks that we have to deal with this, because obviously if your camera will kind of stop at an 85-degree rotation as opposed to a 90, being able to fully spin around your character, it means that the camera movement would probably have to be unlocked during all times when you are moving. So you're not going to feel like, oh no, my camera's trapped, nor is it going to hinder your movement. None of that will change. But what's going to change is the fact that certain bigger animals that, again, may be problematic just because they can see around their own fat little asses, shouldn't be such a big deal anymore.
The upcoming camera changes, according to the clip we just saw, will remove the orbital angle previously mentioned and rather narrow it more around the animal's field of view. The intention for this alteration is simple. Just like Dondi said, the developers believe that the current POV provides too much visibility to the player, and that negatively impacts certain aspects of the game, namely the ability to successful ambush, for example. At its core, Afterthought sees this amount of visual information as a problem, and to fix it, they are trying to build a system that limits players' vision without preventing them from looking freely. Or in other words, they are trying to create blind spots and overall make it so people can't see as much. Now, keep in mind that this is early in development, it's a work in progress and the system can change between now and its release, so here's my opinion about these changes. They are fucking stupid. This has to be the worst change they ever made during these 9 years of development, and that is saying a lot. Removing players' vision is always an extremely risky endeavor. That is the most utilized and impactful sense that we use while playing. We can still play with the sound off, but without a monitor, you won't be able to do anything. In this case, our field of view would be not only vastly more limited, but also a lot closer to our character, so much so that we literally can only see the back of our heads. This change has numerous and very damaging downsides. It heavily devalues the skin system since we can barely see our dinosaur, it reduces our visibility, making things like fog, nighttime and dense vegetation even worse to deal with, it increases the possibility and strength of motion sickness due to continuous abrupt camera motions, it makes small dinos basically unplayable since the camera will now be almost at the same height as the dino model, and makes aiming immensely more difficult and imprecise. I want to emphasize the latter for a moment. Earlier I associated first person to shooters, and that was for a reason. While shooters work decently in almost any camera angle, the most used is first person, and that is not by mere chance. That angle is optimal for those kind of games. In that field of view, you can observe all at once everything you need to know. Your weapon, the trajectory of your attacks, your immediate surroundings, and your target. Furthermore, due to the vertical nature of the camera and the simulation of how we, humans, actually perceive the world, aiming with this camera is more natural to us and thus far superior to any other alternative. Sure, they do work in others, but first person is unquestionably the best for this specific kind of gameplay. This is not at all true when we talk about melee combat though. Unlike guns or projectile-based weaponry that are in your range of vision at all times, things like swords, spears, axes and every single melee weapon that you can imagine possess a telegraph attached to their attacks. Their animations travel through a predetermined path until they reach their default position. Depending on the game, those animations can be precise and realistic, or flashy and exaggerated. But more often than not, actually almost always, the weapons eventually go off camera at some point during their swing. That is why the vast majority of action games are third person. In that angle you are able to see the animation in full and at an appropriate distance, allowing you to not only enjoy the animation itself, but also helps you target it a lot better. Reducing players' view range will drastically impact the game's combat, especially if the camera is situated so close to the dinosaur's head. It will be easier to miss, easier to get confused during a hunt with all the action, camera movement and vegetation going on, and will make aiming very inconsistent for carnivores and almost impossible for herbivores that rely on tails like stegos, ankies, sauropods, cantros and the like. The only thing positive out of this is fixing the camera while looking up. Here's the clip.
We also want to get rid of this. No one likes this. We all know. You want to look up, but you can't because there's leaves in your face. You're not allowed. It's very that doesn't feel good. Everyone knows that doesn't feel good. So that's problematic.
That is in fact good. If the current system has a problem, this is it. And them fixing it is a good thing. If the camera update was solely this part and not the rest, this would be nothing but positive. But everything else, literally everything else being done here is not even pointless, it's directly detrimental to the game. And don't fool yourselves by thinking that this is just work in progress or it's a bad execution. This will never work no matter how you do it. Because the issue here is fundamental. No matter how they implement these changes, their main goal is to reduce players' vision. And that inherently is a bad thing. And the worst part, I can't even believe this is real, is that they are doing all of this for nothing. They are putting so much effort into creating blind spots and limiting our ability to see things, and they don't even realize that we already have blind spots in the game. Just look at this.
None of you are going to make me believe that this is balanced in terms of like being able to look around you like this. So like sure, it's a cool attack and everything, absolutely. This is awesome, and that's all well and good, but this is way too strong. You can just see everything around you. Stegosaurus can't see anything on its left side now, but we totally can.
No, we cannot, Dondi. We cannot see shit on the Stego's left side when you're looking at the right. You are literally proving yourself wrong right there. The camera is just a few feet away from the dino. If a Carno or Yuta comes from the left at full speed, we won't even have half a second to react to it. How is that unbalanced? But then you can say, oh, but with the old camera you can rotate anywhere and see everything. So can you with this new camera. You can still do that. Oh my god. I cannot believe a developer put an apex herbivore in the middle of small tier carnivores and a mid tier tailored for small game prey, and then he goes, you know what makes this dinosaur unbalanced? The camera. The problem is not the camera, it's the fact stegos swing their tail at light speed. If you make the swing slower or put a longer cooldown, that would fix the problem, not this. This is a complete joke. And the people defending this are being extremely disingenuous. You know how I know that? Because never, ever, during these 9 years of development, I have ever seen someone come out and say, gosh, I hate this camera, it's so unrealistic. If you enjoy this new system, there's nothing wrong with that, just to be clear. Anyone is entitled to their own preferences, obviously. But there's a major difference between liking the new camera and saying that the old one is bad. The latter is just flat out wrong on so many levels. And oh, the last part, you're gonna love this. As if all of this wasn't enough, there's yet another gem of a clip. The piece of resistance, the cherry on top. Listen to this.
Logic here real quick, and I want to read it out so you all kind of understand where I'm at. And this isn't a knock, but reading, I'm not sure how to feel about this. Large appeal for me is seeing the cool dino walk around a beautiful island. Restricting the camera to almost first-person view kind of kills that. Guess we'll have to see when it gets playtested, I guess. The entire thing reads to me is, I am bored and the only thing to do in your game is to look at my pretty dinosaur. Which screams that we need more things to do.
You're so right, Dondi. You are so right. It is such a shame that these Isle developers are not focusing on adding new activities and things for players to do, but they are instead changing a mechanic that nobody asked for and making it complete garbage. Man, if only somebody could do something about it. Huh, Dondi? It's unbelievable how a developer can see mild criticism, because this person was being very polite actually, and decides to completely disregard it and even downplay it by saying, "Nah, your argument is invalid. You're just bored because you can't do anything in our game." I can't even fathom this thought process. But anyway, this is enough IO for today. Once again, if they prove me wrong and they somehow make this new camera better than the original, I am more than willing to acknowledge that. Because I do give them credit when credit is due. It's just sad that this is so rare to happen. But I know for a fact that this will never happen, because their ideology regarding this matter is flawed from the start. There is no way they can do this without making it worse. Just give up on idea and move on, please. A huge thank you to my Patreon supporters for supporting the channel and the content I create. If you want to join the ranks, you can do so for only $1 a month, the link will be in the description. Don't forget to leave your thoughts and opinions down below, join our Discord server, engage with the community, politely please, and I hope to see you all next week. I wonder what they are going to do next. Next update we need to press a button every few seconds just to let the dinosaur breathe, because it's more immersive. Jesus fucking Christ, man.